Imagine you just sit down at your computer today
Okay.
and you type a simple question into Google.
Right. Like we've all done for decades.
Exactly. But instead of giving you that classic list of websites, the blue links,
Yeah.
it just gives you the answer directly.
Just spits it right out.
You never actually click a link again.
It's a completely different experience.
It really is. For 25 years, that blue link basically built the entire internet economy.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, that era officially died.
It really did.
Welcome to our deep dive for today.
Mm-hmm.
We have a genuinely fascinating roadmap to explore with you all.
There is a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. Google just made this radical pivot toward an AI-first search experience.
Which is highly controversial, to say the least.
Very controversial. It changes basically everything about the web. And we're also going to unpack this multi-billion-dollar compute Cold War.
Oh, yeah. The hardware side is wild right now.
OpenAI is making these massive business moves. They're locking up infrastructure and, well, prepping for a rumored IPO.
The numbers being thrown around are just staggering.
We'll get into those numbers.
Yeah.
And finally, we'll look at a massive breakthrough in AI architecture.
Right. The new blueprint.
Exactly. This new blueprint finally removes all that expensive guesswork from training frontier models.
Yeah, let's start right there with the death of the blue link.
Let's do it.
Google I.O. 2026 was just absolutely wild this week.
It felt like a completely different company on stage.
It really did. They announced the biggest interface overhaul in their entire history.
The classic search model we all grew up with is basically gone.
Completely gone. Google is going all in on a conversational interface first.
It looks way more like ChatGPT than traditional Google.
Yeah, that's exactly the vibe. They are deploying these custom agents across the internet.
Right.
And these agents actively monitor the open web on your behalf.
It's this huge foundational shift in how we find information. But, people across the internet are honestly quite furious about it.
Oh, the backlash is real.
Tech journalists are already out there writing obituaries for the open web.
The internet is having a massive collective meltdown right now.
Yeah, users seem totally exhausted by this forced AI integration.
I mean, it is literally everywhere you look online today. You can't escape it.
Right.
Do you remember those early AI overviews from a little while back?
Oh, wow, yeah.
The ones that literally told people to stare directly at the sun.
Right, it was completely absurd.
Yeah.
And genuinely unsafe.
Exactly. And because of that history, people don't want to be forced into this new ecosystem.
They don't trust it yet.
No, they really don't. Now you've got these guides on how to switch search engines going totally viral.
People are actively trying to escape the Google bubble completely.
Yeah, they want the old web back.
I think the outrage from creators is entirely justified, too.
Oh, absolutely.
This creates a massive existential crisis for the entire creator economy.
It really pulls the rug out from under them.
Let's really think about the basic mechanics of this for a second. If an AI reads a site, and then it just spits the answer out to the user,
Yeah.
nobody actually clicks the link to visit the website.
Right, they get what they need and leave.
And when web traffic dies, advertising revenue simply disappears overnight.
Right, and that breaks the whole system.
Exactly. The underlying incentive to create good content completely vanishes.
Why write anything if no one visits?
If I write a really great recipe, I need you to visit my page. I need you to see the ads so I can buy my ingredients.
Yeah, you have to keep the lights on.
But if Google just intercepts my work, I get literally nothing.
It's a raw deal for publishers.
It's like replacing a really helpful neighborhood librarian.
I like that analogy.
Thanks. So instead of a librarian, you get this know-it-all middleman guarding the books.
Right.
He reads all the interesting parts for you entirely,
Yeah.
but he completely refuses to hand over the actual pages.
That's a perfect way to look at it. And sometimes, you just don't want that middleman involved at all.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want a hyper-personalized digital assistant.
You really don't.
Sometimes you just want to find a raw Reddit thread.
Exactly. Give me the real human.
You want the original source,
Yeah.
without some corporate filter layered on top.
Yeah, you want to see real humans arguing about the best vacuum cleaner.
Exactly. So are we sacrificing user agency just for the illusion of convenience?
We're absolutely doing exactly that right now. Tech companies prioritize frictionless answers over genuine user exploration.
They just want to keep you on their page.
Right. They assume we want every single topic pre-digested and sanitized. But removing that friction also removes our capacity for serendipitous discovery. We lose the ability to verify facts for ourselves. We're trading our intellectual independence for raw processing speed.
We trade our independence for a quick summary.
Exactly.
So Google is completely overhauling its interface just to keep its dominance.
That's the goal.
But if they're burning all this energy reading the entire web for us,
Yeah.
that brings up a terrifying physical bottleneck.
It takes a lot of juice.
Where are the actual servers to do all this processing? The real invisible war is happening right now inside the data centers.
That brings us perfectly to the massive compute Cold War.
It's wild what's happening behind the scenes.
It really is. We really need to talk about OpenAI's rapid ascendance recently.
Right.
Elon Musk just lost his massive lawsuit against OpenAI.
Which was a huge news story on its own.
Yeah, but immediately after that news broke, some fascinating reports leaked.
The timing was interesting.
Very. It turns out OpenAI might confidentially file for an IPO this very week.
Wow.
And they're looking at an eye-watering $852 billion valuation.
That valuation is completely staggering to think about.
It's astronomical.
That's almost $1 trillion for a private AI company.
It's massive, and they're aggressively locking in their power while they can.
How are they doing that?
OpenAI is basically selling long-term AI compute subscriptions today.
Okay.
They're officially calling this new service guaranteed capacity.
Guaranteed capacity.
Right. Enterprises can now lock in AI compute for several years. They're securing these resources for 1 to 3 years in advance.
It's a huge shift in how companies buy digital infrastructure.
It really is.
They're hoarding the raw material of the future economy.
Exactly. And OpenAI is also investing $2 million in compute tokens.
Right, the tokens.
This investment goes across every single current Y Combinator startup. They're taking actual company equity in exchange for these compute tokens.
Wow.
They're betting really big on tokenmaxxing these startups right now.
Let's unpack that tokenmaxxing concept for a second. It's basically a brilliant trap, isn't it?
It is an incredibly smart business strategy.
Yeah.
Think of it kind of like an old company town.
Okay.
OpenAI gives a brand new startup millions in compute credits for free.
Right, which they desperately need.
Exactly. But they take a chunk of company equity in return.
Right.
And that startup is completely locked into the OpenAI ecosystem.
Uh-huh.
They build their whole core product around OpenAI's specific API architecture.
So they can't leave.
Exactly. They can't easily switch to a competitor like Anthropic later.
Because the switching costs would be way too high.
Precisely.
Compute is essentially the new oil of our economy.
It really is.
Companies are locking it in like buying futures on intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching a brutal hardware war play out in real time.
Yeah, and Anthropic's compute demand is exploding right now from Claude's growth.
Everyone is using Claude.
Right. And Microsoft now wants Anthropic running on their custom Maia chips.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't want to rely solely on Nvidia hardware anymore.
That makes sense.
They want to control the entire hardware stack themselves. It's all about reducing dependency on a single massive supplier.
And then you have these smaller, incredibly ambitious companies like Hark.
Hark is a truly fascinating example in this space.
Yeah.
They're a startup of only 70 total employees right now.
70 people.
Just 70. But they just raised $700 million in fresh capital.
That ratio is insane.
It is. Their current valuation is already sitting at $6 billion. Wow.
They're building a universal AI assistant completely from scratch.
Right.
And it already runs on powerful Nvidia B200 AI infrastructure.
The sheer scale of capital moving around is just hard to comprehend.
It feels like a totally different reality.
Let's touch on the geopolitical implications of all this briefly.
Sure.
And we're just reporting the facts neutrally from the source here.
Right.
Donald Trump recently delayed a major new AI security executive order.
Right. He stated parts of the language could have been a blocker.
A blocker for innovation.
Exactly. And this delay might slow America's AI lead over China.
It's a really critical moment for global AI policy development.
Policy decisions directly impact how fast these massive companies can scale. Governments are desperately trying to balance rapid innovation with real national security concerns.
Does this mean computing power is effectively becoming a sovereign currency? It already functions exactly like a sovereign currency today. Nations and giant corporations are hoarding chips like gold reserves. Compute dictates geopolitical influence in the modern digital age. If you lack infrastructure, you simply cannot compete globally anymore.
Compute dictates power. So hoarding chips is the new gold.
Exactly.
But, throwing billions at compute isn't sustainable forever.
The math just doesn't work out long term.
To survive, the underlying architecture of these models had to evolve.
They had to get way more efficient.
They had to get significantly smarter and much cheaper to run. Which brings us to a massive AI architecture breakthrough.
This is the most exciting part for me.
Yeah.
Training frontier AI models is insanely expensive right now. Every single architecture mistake can burn millions in raw compute.
Just millions of dollars up in smoke.
Literally. Until now, designing these models was mostly just expensive guesswork.
Trial and error on a massive scale.
Right. Companies were flying blind while spending unbelievable amounts of money.
So, to understand the fix, we need to talk about MOE. It stands for Mixture of Experts.
Right.
Here's what that actually means. Models that only wake up the specific parts needed for a task.
That's spot on. And researchers just published a massive 2,000-run study on this.
3,000 runs.
Yeah. They finally cracked the complete MOE architectural blueprint. They figured out exactly what moves the needle in AI design.
Running 2,000 different models is a massive scientific undertaking.
It is huge.
Training just one usually costs an absolute fortune.
It's entirely unprecedented in the specific field of research, and the final conclusions were actually surprisingly simple to understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. First, scaling up the total number of experts always helps.
Okay.
You can push up to a massive 128x ratio.
Wow.
That's the ratio of asleep to awake parameters inside the model.
Yeah.
You can do this without ever hitting a performance wall.
Let's use an analogy to make that visual for everyone. Sure. Instead of waking up a 10,000-person factory just to build one chair,
Right.
MOE just wakes up the 3 specific carpenters who know wood.
Exactly. It saves massive amounts of electricity and compute power.
It's brilliant.
It is. So, second rule of the blueprint. Figure out your active parameter budget first.
Okay.
Use that budget to size your individual active experts. Then just pile on as many experts as your memory holds.
So more specialists sleeping in the background is always better.
Always.
But you also have to carefully protect the data routing, right?
Yes, this is crucial. When routing data to experts, you cannot drop tokens.
Do not drop the
That's
togates.
fine. Do whatever it takes to avoid dropping tokens during routing. Doing that completely wrecks the accuracy of the final model.
Let's explain why dropping tokens is so catastrophic.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you drop tokens, it's basically like giving a surgeon incomplete medical records.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
You give a specialist surgeon only half of a patient's chart.
Right.
They're going to guess wrong because they lack the full context.
Exactly. And the whole model's accuracy completely collapses as a result.
Just falls apart.
That's exactly what happens under the hood. Finally, the study says to ignore all the hyped-up academic tricks.
Like what?
Things like shared experts or mixed-size experts are totally useless.
Really?
Yeah. They just add nasty engineering headaches for zero real-world gain. Keep the architecture as vanilla and simple as possible.
Wow.
Whoa, imagine scaling to 1 billion queries without melting the servers.
It's incredible to think about the physical efficiency gains here.
The big takeaway is to just stop overthinking the complicated math. Nail your expert count and nail your expert size. Keep your routing completely clean and ignore the academic noise. That's basically the entire secret to the new blueprint.
Wait, let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
If this MOE blueprint is totally public now,
Yeah.
doesn't that completely destroy the moat for companies like OpenAI? If anyone can just copy the recipe, why are they valued so highly? Does this blueprint essentially commoditize the building of frontier models?
It certainly lowers the technical barrier to entry significantly. If the recipe is public, execution matters way more than research. Smaller teams can now build highly efficient models rapidly. They can do this without wasting massive amounts of capital on trial and error. The moat isn't the architecture anymore, it's the data and distribution.
Public recipes mean execution beats expensive theory.
Exactly.
This underlying architectural efficiency changes the entire landscape.
That really does.
It's exactly what allows for specialized AI agents to exist in the first place.
Right.
Because if models are cheap, you can have a dozen running constantly.
Working in the background.
Which brings us to the agent era we see emerging today.
Yeah, let's unpack Google's brand new AI agent ecosystem.
Okay.
At I.O., they revealed things like Spark and Halo.
Right.
They showed off Daily Brief and entirely new information agents. They want an agent for every tiny task in your life.
But critics pointed out a very glaring issue almost immediately.
Oh, yeah.
The tech demos felt entirely disconnected from actual daily reality.
They look perfect on stage.
Right, but users are actually feeling the daily squeeze right now.
It looks magical on stage, but the reality is messy.
Very messy.
Gemini just slapped strict usage limits on everyone recently. Even paying subscribers are actively complaining about these harsh limits.
Right.
It's a massive source of friction for heavy daily users.
Plus, ChatGPT quietly released 5 underrated new features recently.
It did.
Things like better data analysis and seamless background workflows.
Right.
But these features were totally overshadowed by Google's massive PR machine.
The big tech companies are great at selling a seamless future, but the actual product experience is still remarkably clunky today.
I gotta admit, I feel this friction every single day.
Oh, yeah.
I still wrestle with prompt drift myself quite a bit.
It happens to all of us.
I'll spend 20 minutes just trying to get ChatGPT to format a simple email.
Yeah, it just gets lost in the context.
Managing these complex AIs is not seamless at all.
No, it's not.
The tech giants pretend it's a completely magical experience. But the reality is often quite frustrating and very tedious.
Yeah, it requires constant tweaking to get things right. It's like managing an intern who forgets everything every morning.
Exactly.
But some ground-level tools are actually working quite well right now.
That's the good news.
They contrast sharply with the big tech marketing hype. Smaller companies are solving very specific, boring workflow problems.
I keep hearing about these mega models from the big players. But what about the tools a regular person can actually use today? Let's talk about a tool called Tycoon.
Tycoon is wild.
Yeah.
It enables you to run an entire digital company. It's completely powered by Astra and an autonomous AI CEO.
An AI CEO.
Literally. It includes over 10 ready-to-use AI agents for different operational tasks. You have agents for marketing, support, and basic financial tracking.
That sounds like science fiction, but it's happening right now.
It really is. Then there's a platform called WeWeb 3.0.
Okay, what does that do?
It gives full visual editing control to non-coders building complex apps. You always understand exactly what is happening under the hood. It doesn't just write a black box code block for you.
That transparency is huge. Memlify Workflows is another highly practical tool available right now.
Yeah, that one is great.
It lets engineering teams turn on pre-built automations almost instantly. These automations generate complex change logs or handle repetitive documentation tasks effortlessly.
It saves developers hours of completely mindless administrative typing.
And SlideShot is doing amazing things for video presentations today.
Oh, I love SlideShot.
You just click through your software while it watches. It captures your walkthrough and returns a highly polished demo video.
It even adds smooth zooms, cursor motion, and custom intro animations. These are real tools solving actual tedious problems for users today.
So the tech is clearly arriving at our desks, but are we really ready to be managers of a digital workforce?
We're getting there, but the initial learning curve is extremely steep. People need to shift their entire mindset about daily productivity. We lack the established management frameworks for non-human employees. You have to learn how to explicitly define every single expectation. It requires a completely different approach to daily operations.
We must shift from doing work to delegating it.
Exactly. Insert mid-roll sponsor read here.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Let's calmly synthesize everything we covered here today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did.
Mm-hmm.
We're witnessing a brutal structural transition across the entire internet. We're moving rapidly from the retrieval era to the agent era.
It's completely upending how we find basic information online. We're watching the actual definitive death of the blue links. The fundamental business model of the web is breaking down.
It's also driving historic shifts in our physical infrastructure.
Huge shifts.
OpenAI's massive $852 billion valuation proves the stakes are incredibly high. We're in a multi-billion-dollar scramble for raw compute power globally.
And this forces radical efficiency breakthroughs across the board.
Right.
The new MOE architecture blueprint is a perfect example of this. We had to figure out how to build smarter, cheaper models.
Yeah.
We have to do this just to keep the lights on. The energy demands would be completely unsustainable otherwise.
I want to leave you with a provocative thought today.
Okay.
Think about the trajectory we just mapped down.
Mm-hmm.
AI agents are starting to read the open web for us.
Right.
They summarize the articles so we don't have to click.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, AI platforms are actively generating the content on the web. They're writing the blogs and the code and the recipes.
That's a really wild feedback loop to consider.
Exactly. So how far away are we from a brand new internet? We might see an internet where AIs just talk to AIs.
Wow.
The bots write the content and the bots read the content.
Yeah.
Human curiosity could be completely cut out of the loop entirely. Are we building a web that doesn't actually need us?
That's something you really need to chew on this week.
Stay curious as this landscape continues to shift so quickly. Always question the underlying mechanics of the tools you use every day. Don't just accept the friction. Ask why it's happening. Join us next time for another deep dive into the unknown. OTRO Music.